And the scholarship covered the entire like cost of attendance for all
Oh
three.
man, yeah, it was an incredible scholarship. They covered uh, tuition, they covered housing, and they gave me a stipend of 500 euros a month. So I needed nothing. 3 years of education totally for free, living for free. Um,
Hello everyone and welcome to today's video where we have with us Prannay Sastry, who is a musician from Pune who received a scholarship to study in the Netherlands. And from there, he went on to do some research in science. And then he's currently an artist pursuing music. So do you want to start by introducing yourself, Pranay?
sure, of course. Also, before I go into the history of what I've done and stuff, I wanted to let you know, because I didn't tell you this. I got into Berklee NYC, and I'm going to be studying, doing a master's there, which
Oh,
is
wow.
like, it's like a dream come true, kind of like it's something that I've always wanted to do, I guess. And I only figured it out recently that I even wanted to get into music. It's insane. So this course is like, Berklee NYC is pretty much, I feel like it's the place to
Yeah,
be if you're in pop music, or like any kind of music
yeah.
that's not like really traditional classical music or any of those traditional styles. So I'm super excited about that. And I guess what something about me is, you want to know a bit about my high school, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
We can
guess,
start from there and then build it up towards, yeah.
yeah, so I had like a traditional ICSE education until the 10th grade. And then in India, 11th and 12th, I think most people know this, is like what we call junior college. It's kind of, it didn't feel very important to me then, but I feel like, um, what happened to me was I went to a school called DAV, which is a CBSE uh, um, 11th and 12th school. And then I changed to and the like a state board college very briefly. I was in this one school for like a couple of months and another one for a couple of months. And then my parents were decided that I should go to IB. They wanted to invest in that education because they knew that if I would get into an IB school, there was a much better chance of going abroad and studying and getting whatever good education in the future. So that's what I did. I studied IB for 2 years in Sharad Pawar International School in Pune, which I think is an incredibly good call from my parents. It's not something that I was mature enough to make myself,
Yeah.
So at least at that point in time. So they made a great call, and I got a scholarship after that, immediately after that, to get into University College Maastricht, as you mentioned. Um, and then I studied a master's. Actually, I loved my education in the Netherlands. Like the bachelor's course that I did was like, it opened my eyes to so many things. It was a liberal arts course, but I chose to focus on sciences. But I got to do these courses in like political philosophy and contemporary world history and all of these things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. And this has really, really shaped who I am. So I got to explore all of that stuff there. And then I went on to do a master's in biomedical sciences, which, now looking back on it, I mean, it was great, but it was probably not what I was cut out for personally. So during this master's, I did a bunch of gigs with the band. I started a project called Kalika. I got a bunch of really cool guys there who wanted to work with me. Um, and we were just playing shows, and that's what inspired me the most. And I realized that there was a lot of potential. And more importantly, that was the thing that I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
So eventually, of late, I've been making music under that name of Kalika, and then I applied to Berklee, and then this is where we are.
Yeah, I had some questions about Kalika, but I'll get to that later on. Um, so let's start by talking about which all universities did you look at when you were applying back in the 12th grade?
So you're probably not going to believe this, but
Yeah.
that's the university I applied to was the only one that I applied to, because um, I think I intended to stay in India. Actually, for some reason, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. And I saw this liberal arts university. My dad just mentioned it to me in passing, because he was working for a Dutch company at the time, and he's like, "There's this university, check it out." I went and had a look at it, and I figured, like, it seemed really cool. You got to make your own curriculum, and There's like a vast selection of subjects, and it just seemed really cool. So I applied, and I think I made the scholarship application on the last date. And then I remember that they called me. We had a little phone call, and it was very informal, as it is with, I think, if you ever have interviewed for like a university that's like a liberal arts university or something that's a little bit more progressive, you know that the interviews can actually be enjoyable. Like you
Yeah.
can, as long as if you prepare a little bit beforehand, you tend to feel comfortable, and the interviewer makes you feel comfortable. So my experience was great. I feel like we had a very good interview, and then soon after, yeah, the whole scholarship thing happened. But I didn't apply to any other universities,
Wow,
since
that's
you're
amazing.
asking.
Yeah. And what do you think made you stand out for them to pick you for that scholarship?
I figure it might have been during the interview. I think I was just really relaxed about it. The thing that made all the difference for me was that it'll make a difference to anyone, I think, is if you generally, when people are interviewing, I feel like they get very self-conscious, or they are viewing the interviewer as some kind of machine of the system or of the university. They're not really seeing them as a human. I think if you just connect with them in like a genuine way, and you have a good time talking to them,
Yeah.
you are likely to stand out a little bit. Also, I figure that I did have good grades, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So that really did help me stand out, because that's how they got to know me before they ever got to know me.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
saw that
Numbers.
the
Yeah.
individual had good grades. So good grades matter. Not gonna lie. So those are probably the two main things, I think.
Yeah. And the scholarship covered the entire like cost of attendance for all
Oh
three.
man, yeah, it was an incredible scholarship. They covered uh, tuition, they covered housing, and they gave me a stipend of 500 euros a month. So I needed nothing. 3 years of education totally for free, living for free, and also it's enough money to um, eat whatever you want, have a good social life, travel a little bit as well. You could save up a bit and travel around Europe a little, which I did. So yeah.
Yeah. And besides performing at those gigs, did you have any other part-time jobs, or were you just mainly relying on the stipend?
So this was in my bachelor's. I didn't do a whole lot of gigging, actually. This was kind of like a time when I really explored who I was. I didn't need any additional money. Honestly, it was a lot of money. 500 euros a month,
Yeah.
when you're not paying rent and stuff. It's just like spending money. It's just food and whatever you want. So I could live on it easily, and I think I took the time to really explore the place, get to know people. Um, I wanted to be a bit more sociable than I had been in the past, because, of course, like in India, you're often studying a lot for
Yeah.
things. So I felt like I had this freedom to work as I wanted, when I wanted, and I really wanted to be able to go out, get to know people, explore like the culture, and a bunch of different things that I hadn't explored before. There were so many things to do. I could get involved with like the music society. I could get involved with like I don't know, like this gastronomy society, like a bunch of different things. So
Yeah.
like
That's
a
very
lot.
interesting. Yeah. That
Yeah,
means that you can do all of those things in your free time, and you have free time to do those things also. Yeah.
precisely. Yeah.
And what made you do the master's? Like, was it because you got another scholarship, or because you wanted to pursue biology more, or yeah, what was the main reason for that?
Well, for me, the master's was about exploring. So for me, I was really I was really curious about the world of nutrition, because I feel like what I did I did a course in biomedical sciences, but a lot of it was focused on metabolism, like human metabolism.
Hmm.
So at the time, I was spending a lot of time training at the gym, and I was eating very carefully, and I was becoming very aware of um, what it means to actually be healthy as a human.
Hmm.
It takes a bit of effort in this day and age to actually be healthy, because we have so much crap, so much junk food
Yeah.
around us, and have like everything's convenient. You don't really have to walk long distances if you don't want to. So yeah, plenty of reasons why you can be unhealthy. So I wanted to study that, and I just felt inspired by uh, you know it didn't seem like, to me, it didn't seem like it was medicine. It seemed kind of holistic, which was something, yeah, for me, that was like, it really spoke to me, and I had the chance to explore it. But yeah, as it turns out, the world of academia is its own space. So it's not something that I was too fond of. I can maybe talk to you about that a little bit later,
Yeah.
which is why I changed to. I feel like I'm much better off in the world of music now. But yeah,
Yeah. And so what was the exact point that made you like switch from academia and pursuing nutrition to pursuing music?
yeah, this is. It feels like it was a really long story for me. Um, a lot of it was just like me realizing what was good for me and what wasn't. So it took me a long time to acknowledge this, to admit it to myself, to admit it to others. There's so many obstacles. You think of like, what are people going to say? You think of, you might think you're crazy yourself. I kind of thought I was a bit insane
Yeah.
myself for even like giving the thought any credence. So but the thing that changed it for me was, I think, actually having really positive experiences with music. That was a huge thing that made me realize that I really love this, and I want to do this. I can do this like as long as I live. um but also, I think having like not so good experiences with my um academics, which was me realizing that, you know um the world of research and academia might not be for me. There were a lot of other things that happened as well, um, on a more personal level, that maybe I shouldn't even be talking about. But let's just say that there's a lot of really negative experiences that I had that actually shaped a lot of the way that I see things today.
Yeah.
I think bad experiences are as good, and in fact, better teachers than good experiences. Unfortunately, that's just the way that we're built, perhaps, maybe. So those, like, from those bad experiences, I really did learn who I was. I started journaling a lot. This is something that I value heavily. I always sit down. I don't always do it, but I do it when it becomes necessary. And I'll usually write entire books of things. Just keep writing to myself a little bit. Um, and I figured out what it is that I wanted to do. It's just, for me, it's like it's a way of accessing some subconscious thought, like some limited amount of it,
Yeah.
just writing a little, and then it just came out. So
Yeah.
I realized that this is what I want to do. This is something that I don't want to do. All of those things became a little bit like clearer to me.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
amazing. Yeah. I
I
think
mean, it's
go ahead. Yeah.
sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. Anyway, I wanted to say that it's not super. Um, it's not. I think everyone could do this in their own way. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to journal, but everyone has access to their thoughts. And you generally need to be very honest with yourself. That's really crucial. That's probably the only thing.
Yeah. I was going to say that I'm like trying to try different things and then see what I really like. So I'm currently studying computer science. I like it, but I also want to see what other things are out there so that I know what I'm doing before I actually like go into it deeper.
Awesome. What are you trying? Like, what kind of things are you doing these
Uh,
days?
so I recently had like two internships with the same company. They make medical devices so like scanners, CT scanners for the legs and arms. So I really liked that experience because it felt like, I don't know, it felt like it was a positive experience, and I also like felt like what I was doing was being used and helping people in some way,
Oh,
which was good. Yeah.
awesome, man. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
So back to Kalika now. So where did that name come from?
The name Kalika is, it's just basically, for me, there's a lot of um, things that one could think about it. To me, it just symbolizes the killing of the ego in a way, because there's the goddess Kali, right? She's a Hindu goddess, and I don't want like this. I don't want the band to be associated with Hinduism or to even make it like some
Yeah,
kind of
religious. Yeah.
yeah. That's not the vibe. It's more that symbolism of she cuts off people's heads, which is her killing the ego in a way. And for me, I feel like music is that thing that lets you let go of the ego.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's a way to get let go of your ego, right? Because you get involved, or you become part of something that's a little bit bigger than you feel a bit small, you know. You feel like you're part of something that's living and breathing that's much bigger than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like being in music in India, like how has your journey been, and what are some challenges that you faced and some positive things that you've been through so far? It's been 2 years, I'm guessing now,
It's
or
been as long as the lockdown has been
as long. Oh,
unfair.
okay. So you're here about a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the downside is pretty obvious. It's that it's all been during lockdown. So I haven't been able to go out and gig, which is one of my favorite things to do. But besides that, there's been a lot of positives. We released a couple of songs. One of them was chosen as one of Rolling Stone's top 10 songs of the year 2020, and a couple of other of these local indie magazines also featured us as the top artists, one of the top 10 artists of 2020. All of this stuff was happening, so that felt really cool. Not that the validation it's not about the validation, but it's nice to have some validation,
Yes,
especially when you change
definitely.
over. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, when you're doing something totally different and you get into this, you want to feel like, okay, you know what, I've made the right choice, and that helped a lot. um, and then I guess, in general, a lot of my friends have been extremely supportive of this whole thing. They've been very vocal, you know. They've been really happy, and they've been telling me that they like the music I've made, or they have been they've just been happy for me, you know, which is something that feels great.
Hmm.
Another really cool thing that happened, I guess, was that I was through Kalika, I managed to bring a lot of family together as well, who are helping me with the whole thing. And we're all scattered all over the world at the moment, my family at least, because of COVID as well. Nobody's able to travel.
Yeah.
So people have been helping me out. They've been a part of my journey and stuff. So that's felt great. It feels great to have that, those strong relationships, have that community and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the final thing would be getting into Berklee. That was like the cherry on the top, icing on the
Yeah.
cake.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of validation, I think like those things feel amazing, and also like simple messages that you get from someone on Instagram or anywhere that I like your music. That must be
Yeah.
pretty good.
Those feel amazing, but I get a lot of messages saying I should give up, as well as like people are
Yeah.
like, you should
Oh,
do
okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
And
you get a bit of both.
yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable talking about it, any thoughts on like the financial side of music in India specifically?
Of course, I'm definitely comfortable talking about it. I
Hmm.
think that, um, again, not gonna lie, it really helps to have some funding.
Hmm.
You need, um, eventually, you're gonna need some kind of funding, because as a musician, you need a lot of gear. It's pretty crucial. You can't really make music if you don't have um, your instruments first of all, or if you want to record your things, you might need a bunch of different pieces of equipment, starting from like an audio interface to a microphone, or like an electric guitar, whatever it is, keyboard, a bunch of things that you could need. You need a good laptop. Um, you're gonna need, also, if you're a gigging musician, you need to be able to travel.
Yeah.
That is expensive, and you can usually cover it with what you're getting paid, though not always even. So sometimes you might not even break even.
Yeah.
um, but ideally you should be breaking even. You should plan, you just have to be really economical with the way you plan things. But you will have to like foot the whole thing before you go, and then you get paid afterwards. So like, you do need to have some funds available beforehand. um, and it's unfortunate that that's the case. I still feel like the world would be a better place if creatives and artists were more free to just go out and do their thing. But you can always get started just playing like a little thing, like at a local open mic, or busking. You can go around busking. I don't know, it's not really a huge thing in India, but you could try it. There's always ways to get started, even if you don't have a budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And any advice for students or for budding artists out there, or for both? Like, you can go one at a time.
For students, there's a lot of things I could say. I think for students in general, I think probably the most important thing is that you do the thing that you're passionate about. You really need to give yourself enough time also to understand what it is you like. I think that process was kind of sped up for me because I went through a really bad time, and I just sat and reflected for, like, I was just sitting at coffee places every day, and I would just order one coffee, and I would sit the whole day and write. I wrote like notebooks worth of stuff, about my own thoughts. So I think if you don't have that privilege of time, give yourself whatever time you require to understand who you are. What do you really enjoy doing? Because we think we know, like, we're always, I mean, it's kind of arrogant sometimes. We can be arrogant in thinking that we know exactly what we want to do or what we like, but sometimes it takes a little bit more digging to understand what you like. So make sure you're doing the thing that you really, really, really like. It should also be something that you're good at, but if you think you could get good at it, that's also okay. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And I would guess another thing would be to not be scared. Like, there will be obstacles. There's always going to be stuff that will, like, dissuade you from doing something, but you should always aim for the highest thing that you could aim for.
Yeah.
And try. Yeah. And for artists, right?
Yeah, for artists. Yeah.
So I'm a really, really, really young artist myself. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just getting started with the whole thing.
Yeah.
If there is someone getting started right now, if then to them I would say, just have fun. Like, really enjoy the process. There's a lot of stressful situations that could arise as an artist. There's a lot of planning you'll have to do. You'll have to figure out how to get money from what you're doing, as you mentioned. So there's plenty of stressful things that will arise, but just make sure that you are focused on your craft and you really enjoy the process of creating, which is what it's all about anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And this is one thing I forgot to ask about before, but do you mind going over the process of getting into Berklee?
Sure. I mean, so you want kind of like a technical breakdown of what it's like?
Yeah, like a technical breakdown is good.
Okay, cool. So the basically Berklee, and this is Berklee NYC.
NYC, yeah.
Which is they only have masters. They have a single master's program, and it's incredibly competitive from what I've heard. There's only 20 slots for my specialization.
Yeah.
It's super competitive. So that frightened me. I think the the thing I shouldn't have been frightened, but yeah. Generally speaking, the application process had 3 stages, one of which was kind of like a portfolio and SOP and stuff that you have to supply them in like a written format. The second is an interview that you do just to the camera with preloaded kind of questions, and the third one is a face-to-face interview. So on the portfolio, you just have you from my concentration was a production and songwriting focus. So I had to share 3 songs that I had worked on and talk a little bit about them, like give them technical details of what the song was, how they were made and what they're about and that kind of stuff. And then on the first interview, actually, I found the first interview the hardest because there's no human on the other side. You're
Yeah.
just talking to a computer. Yeah, you can imagine, man. It's really stressful. So I honestly feel like I did a very bad job of that interview, but I'm happy that they saw past
Yeah.
how nervous I was. And then when I had the interview with the a person on the other end, it was significantly easier. It was a lot of fun to do, actually. I tend to enjoy interviews if there's a human, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So those were the three stages. I guess I prepared uh, for both of the interviews,
Mm.
and I had done enough work prior to applying, so my portfolio was strong as well. So those are the things that you might want to take into consideration.
Yeah. And the second stage, which was the interview with no person, was that like, did you have the questions a lot in advance, or was it like a few hour thing where you had to come up with answers on the spot?
So they gave us, they didn't give us questions beforehand. What they did was they kind of told us what to think about. So they asked us to think about our motivations behind what we're doing, why are we applying, why I'm an artist, that kind of thing. And it seemed, honestly, I felt like I was put on the spot, because like you don't have a lot of time to prepare. Like the question comes, and then you have about 10 seconds or 15 seconds to compose yourself.
Yeah.
And then you have to answer. So it's just like robotic, it's just going through the motions. And you have you have like 15 seconds to jot down some points, so it can be it can be pretty stressful. And I think I at some point I just gave up trying to write down anything. I just waited and I just answered.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's hard.
Yeah.
If you wanna apply, if you're considering applying, I would say be prepared. It's not going to be super easy.
So I mean, I don't play any instrument myself, but I know people, and they've applied to Berklee, and it's a very competitive process.
It is actually. I heard something like for the usual Berklee courses, I think the acceptance is 30%, which is quite high.
Wow. Yeah.
It is pretty high.
Yeah, and you said that this is Berklee NYC, but it's still affiliated with Berklee in Boston.
Yeah, it is. It is, and actually, I think it's going to be something else, because it's happening in NYC, which is where all the music in the world almost happens. It's like, and they've partnered up with the city of New York, and they've done all this crazy stuff. So, and they're working at this insane studio called the Power Station Studio. That's where Berklee NYC is, and in that studio, there's been like, I can't even tell you, man. There's like a million really, really, really famous records that happen in there.
Yeah.
So anything from like,
cool.
yeah, like Lady Gaga to Muse to like, I don't even know, man.
Yeah.
Anything that you can think of has happened there. So.
And you're going this fall, I'm assuming, this September?
Probably will go. I'm thinking hopefully the COVID situation is going to be better. The guys there, I mean, everyone at Berklee is really confident that everything's going to happen on campus and stuff. So and the US has been handling this whole vaccination situation really well.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much for taking the time out to do this, and I'm sure many people are going to find this very helpful.
Hope so, man.